Pretty much everything. In 2001, we talked about mobile phones that were used almost exclusively for voice and nothing else. Now, smartphones are our connection to the internet, and in the developing world are actually the default way that people are connecting. Laptops have changed enormously. The internet has changed enormously. I would argue probably the biggest changes are e-commerce, for sure, delivery, having things shipped to our homes, whether it's books at first or now more and more. But the other big change is social networks. With 1.2 billion users on a single social network every day, I find I'm using it more and more to stay in touch with family, friends, and even do business on it. Up until now, biometrics really hasn't been a thing. It's very limited. We are now using our fingerprint readers on our phones. We see within a few years, virtually every phone will have a fingerprint reader, and people will use them around the world, not just for turning the phone on and off, but also for financial transactions and perhaps even digital ID. Where it gets more interesting is other forms of biometric. There are voice recognition, face recognition. Those aren't, I think, so good. They're not really optimal. The interesting one is eye recognition, iris recognition. Where I think that gets used is in multi-factor. For example, if I work at Deloitte and I want to go into my office, I use my fingerprint on my phone to get me in. If I want to go inside the data center, I need my iris recognition. So think about it as multiple levels with increasing layers of multi-factor authentication, making those critical sites even more secure. So DDoS, it's really a bit of a perfect storm. One of them is insecure Internet of Things devices. More and more of those create a problem. But second is they are now being connected to faster and faster networks, which means the power of each of these devices is magnified. The third thing is people, criminals, have published a list of all these devices to the web, meaning that virtually anybody can launch a high-powered DDoS attack that's difficult to mitigate. So it's sort of a bit of a, I dislike the phrase, but it's a bit of a perfect storm for DDoS in 2017. Cord cutting in TV, very interesting. There is a slow but steady erosion of pay TV in the US and Canada. Where we see year over year the number of people who pay for TV is falling very, very slightly. But that trend is not accelerating. We just got the US and Canadian data last month. The year over year trend is about flat. Meanwhile, in other countries, like in France, Germany, or the United Kingdom, the number of people paying for traditional cable-type TV is still rising. So cord cutting remains largely a North American phenomena and not a very big one. One of the problems is that traditional cord is still a good way of delivering a lot of TV channels. Most people watch TV live, very few watch it time-shifted. Some people watch very little TV on demand, and that's great for them. But for 90% of the audience, they don't want that. They want to turn the TV on, watch their shows, and not actually have to use the internet in order to do that.